promoted. You know what I mean? Maybe he hasn't played enough games. Because I heard my friend Mark, who's also in the channel, quick shout out to Mark Munzer, he said that apparently Giga beat some Diamond player to get to this round, so you know he's already proven he can at least compete on that level, so maybe even be kind of a Masters player. You never know. And of course, like you said, it could be a Smurf account, so maybe there's more to this guy than we know.
Right, I do want to point out before we get any farther, he actually goes for a spawning pool, and I think that was 10, 11? This is a really early spawning pool, and In Control has to react quickly here. His gateway was put on 13 and not 12, and that can spell disaster with an early spawning pool. In Control knows exactly what to do in this situation after he scouted it, but he may have scouted it a tiny bit too late. I don't know. Yeah,
you know, this was it such an early pool and a gas follow-up? That could mean that he wants to go for very, very fast roaches. And, you know, in these even in these positions, there used to be a very famous roach ling rush that quote was unstoppable. And, I mean, it was in the exact same positions as well, so maybe Giga might be even shooting for the fences that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the 1-base-7 roach rush? That was so popular?
Or there was another rush where you get 3 roaches and use the Overlord to get sight of the ramp. Yeah. And then, I mean, you reinforce with speedlings as well. But, you know, I'm not exactly sure what Giga's up to. But like you said, that early pool is just very unusual.
Right, especially... Yeah, and Giga didn't really try to capitalize on it. And In Control is being such a mean person right now. To drop the pylon and the cybernetics core. It's funny to note, In Control didn't actually react to the early pool at all. He just built his cybernetics core before his Zealot and is just playing completely standard. And this cybernetics core is going to get cancelled probably right before it goes up. And this expansion is just so late. Giga falling so far behind. In Control dropping another pylon down. Wow.
And you know, this process can just repeat over and over actually. I mean, technically that pylon would finish, and but In Control definitely feel like he stalled enough. He doesn't want to waste too many resources, but he should feel it pretty much okay at this point. I mean, he's been able to do everything else, while Zerg's been struggling to get anything out really at this point.
Right, we do see In Control's probe did get chased away, so his infinite loop of blocking was eventually stopped. He also probably doesn't want to block it for too much longer, because there could be a Roachling all-in coming at that point. But we do see a Baneling's Nest down as far as Zerg. This is actually a lot of Zerglings. A good force field by In Control, but that's his only sentry for a while now.
Yeah.
This could actually be devastating. In Control is chrono boosting out the second thingy. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if it's going to be in time, though.
Yeah, and you know what, Giga getting a little bit too overly ambitious. He is starting to make full amount of Zerglings. First Banelings are on the way, but again, he doesn't have that much Banelings. And he's just trying to get past the first Zealot. And In Control does not have any sight of what's going on, so he doesn't know. He doesn't have any force fields either. He does have one sentry, though, and that might actually be the difference maker. But again, it'll come down to that very, very, very small timing where In Control might or might not land that force field.
Right, if Giga had pushed as soon as those Banelings had finished, he might have been able to break this. But the third sentry is now up, and these other 2 sentries are regaining a ton of energy. So I really think In Control is going to be fine. Although In Control pokes out, he goes, oh, those are Banelings. I should probably not go out there. And a great force field. Banelings can no longer blow up on that single Zealot, and Giga is just... he's in so much trouble.
Yeah, you know, Giga is expanding. In Control wisely throws down a Stargate, so it looks like he's going to be able to do a lot of punishment here. In Control also throwing down a pylon just to be extra safe in terms of reinforcements. Looks like the Zerglings do poke in, but realize they have to poke out. And at this point, In Control, he's just going to be really, really defensive, realizing that if he can hold out, he can do a ton of damage to Zerg. Because right now, again, so much investment to these early bands and no benefits in return.
Right, and we see this Stargate, like you said, it was a great play. And In Control is actually not even going to use the Void Ray defensively. He's already rallying it to the Zerg's base. He's just going to hold his ramp with sentries and try to kill his opponent with the Void Ray.
Yeah, so, you know, that's a great job there. And In Control, of course, during this whole time, is still making probes. He's got a huge probe advantage in 26 to 22 at this point. Zerg did just finish his expansion, but again, I mean, Giga, while he does control the bottom of the ramp temporarily, that Void Ray is going to do a lot of damage.
Oh, and that was really great play by In Control real quick. He sent a single Zealot down and baited about half the Zerglings up the ramp and then force fielded them to kill all the Zerglings without any losses. Where did that Void Ray sneak off to? Oh, it's just hanging out on the high ground.
It's trying to channel the pylon for extra damage or something.
I guess he didn't want it to be seen quite yet.
Yeah, and I mean, did Giga actually see that Stargate? No, he didn't.
I'm not sure.
And yet,
but he knows something is up because he is dropping 4 spore crawlers right now.
Oh wow, yeah, he's dropping a ton of spores. So, you know what? He's definitely feeling suspicious of something. But In Control is still gonna be able to do a lot of damage with these Void Rays. And Giga, I mean, you can't deny the fact that Giga is also behind in supply, 56 to 38, and that's just not good coming into almost 9.5 minutes into this game.
Right. Our Zerg is desperately far behind at this point, although he did get his layer up, so there is still hope for him. He's not completely out of this game. It's going to depend on how much damage these Void Rays can do, but with only 2 queens out, and the first queen getting lifted and killed, I think these Void Rays are going to do a devastating amount of damage.
Ooh, and great control from In Control to do a little switcheroony on that queen over there. Looks like the Evo Chamber is going to go down. Looks like In Control not paying attention. Probably should have focused on that Spore. But regardless, In Control is just constantly keeping... Oh, shooting the Phoenix to keep the charge up. That was actually quite a cool play there, and that Phoenix was out of energy anyways. But that was a little bit of a cute thing there by In Control. Definitely one of those things that people really... That shows how good control you can really have with Void Rays.
I want to point out, In Control's Phoenix is actually flying up here, and this was Giga's last chance. He was dropping a Proxy Spire at third base, and it gets scouted by In Control. Those great star sense from a Protoss player here. I can't believe he even thought to go up there, but since he does, Giga is just so much trouble now. He's redropping that Spire. It's going to take so long now. If he could have gotten a surprise batch of Mutalisks out, he might have been able to do some decent damage to In Control's economy, but now it's just... In Control is in control of this game.
Yeah, and he's not going to relinquish it anytime soon because, again, he dominates the sky. Any kind of movement out of the Zerg base he'll be able to see. Looks like the Queens are already moving out again. In Control. Ooh, getting a little bit overambitious with those Void Rays. Wants to be very, very cautious as right now. Oh, it does look like the Phoenix will go for another lift. And In Control will try to see if he can attack that immediately. Looks like he's going to sack one Phoenix. But, again, losing these many Queens, though, again, with the... that one boy will survive. But again, losing queens this early, especially for a Zerg that's already hurting economically, just awful, awful news.
Right. Normally you wouldn't want to trade Phoenix for a queen, but knowing how much damage you've already done and the fact that the Zerg is already so low on queens, you aren't just killing the queen, you're killing the next larva inject as well, and that makes it so much more cost efficient.
Yeah, and looks like, Giga he has to remake queens over and over. Meanwhile, In Control's been building up quite an army over here with a lot of sentries. Good lord, that is a lot of sentries, and at this point, In Control... He's going to pick a super strong timing. Of course, he wants to land perfect force fields, but he should be able to dominate. He's already going to force field the ramp. And it looks like at this point, I don't know, man. Giga doesn't look like he's got enough to survive this push.
No, there are just an infinite amount of force fields right now. In Control having full energy on over half his sentry still. He just makes a little box around all the units and then slowly tickles them down with the sentry energy. More Zerglings trying to come in and get us around, but it just doesn't matter at this point. 4 Mutalisks definitely want to be the hero, but sentries actually don't do that bad against Mutalisks when you have 15 sentries.
Oh,
so the Mutalisks do get cleaned up, and In Control just takes this game by a landslide.
Yeah, and there's something you don't see every day where sentries are the reason why Mutalisks fall back. But actually that's kind of an interesting math thing, because, Stalker DPS is not that much better than Sentry DPS because Sentry still has 6, and I think Stalkers have like 7 against non-armored, so it's not actually too different, especially if you get Guard and Shield up. So In Control with the
definitely.
heads up play over there, just say, you know what, I'm not going to back off. I can just end it here.
Yeah, In Control just being a total boss there. I mean, he dealt with that cheese Baneling all in so well, and our Zerg tried the macro super hard behind it, and if you let the Zerg macro for too long, he can catch back up. In Control making a perfect timing push with almost exclusively sentries and still making it work.
Oh yeah, and looks like In Control will go up 1-0 now. Surprise, surprise, game number 2 is Shakura's Plateau. And, we're going to just see if we can get started right away, because again, we are lagging a little bit behind schedule-wise, but hopefully we can get this game underway.
Yeah, I mean, with a bracket this big, it's kind of hard to get all the games started at exactly the same time. In Control commenting on the cheese, and then saying good luck, have fun. With the early pool we saw at a Giga last game, this is actually a great map for an early pool. I wonder if that's Giga's plan. In Control, I think he kind of said that at the beginning of the game because he doesn't want to get cheesed, so he's telling his opponent, "Oh, I know you might cheese me."
Yeah, and you know what? It could be part of that thing where, you know, he says it, he expects it, and then Giga's like, well, am I going to do it anyways? Or
right,
some
exactly.
kind of thing. So, I mean, at this point, it looks like Giga, I mean, the ball's technically in his court. He's got to make something happen. He is the blue Protoss here in the top left. And in the top right, we do have the man in control, and quite a man he is if you've ever seen him in person. He is huge.
He's a monster.
Oh man, like I talked to him at MLG. He towered over me. Like he's like 6'1" and like 250 pounds. I'm like, good lord, I can't stack it with him. So.
And again, we do see In Control doing. This is actually a complete mind game, and I want to point this out because this is really smart by In Control. As silly as it seems, he tells his opponent not to 6-pool, saying, "I'm prepared for 6-pool," and then In Control goes ahead and does the only build that really isn't prepared for a 6-pool. He's going to go for the Forge first expansion, and if Zerglings run around that Forge, they can actually do a lot of damage.
Oh yeah, and the most important thing though is that In Control will scout it, and Giga is going for a 7-pool, which you know, that's not gonna make In Control feel all that good. But keep in mind that In Control, this will show how good his crisis management is. He's gonna have to react accordingly. And Bonk, when you see this kind of play, what do you got to do if you're gonna go for a Forge fast expand?
Well, In Control is actually doing everything correct. Sometimes you will chrono boost out the extra amount of probes and put your Forge down on 13 or 14 supply, but with a 6 or 7 pool, you can't do that. In Control actually moved this probe into position to drop the Forge on exactly 12 supply. Normally, as a Protoss, the way you would deal with this is by getting a pylon in your mains mineral line and then putting a cannon there as well. But since In Control is getting such an early Forge, he's actually going to have time to wall off his ramp. And as soon as these Zerglings get stopped by In Control's walls, our Zerg will pretty much have to GG.
Yeah, and of course, when In Control stops it, that just pretty much signifies that his economy is going to be good. Of course, In Control does have about 20 more seconds to finish off this wall, but he should be okay considering that he does have a good number of resources, although he is starting to really cut it close here as his first Zerglings are on the way.
Yeah, In Control actually checking his wall and realizing there are 2 holes with it, with the probe. So these Zerglings do have a chance at getting by. He needs to, there he goes, he blocks off one part of the wall, puts his probe on hold position in the other. Is that going to, I think it's going to be just enough to stop these Zerglings. Oh, they focus down the probe, but it's too late. That was brilliant play by In Control right there.
Yep, heads up play. So, you know, Giga definitely failing with that. Gonna redrone up, but at this point, In Control with the perfect early pool defense. Now, of course, In Control, he's just gonna expand at this point because, I mean, there's nothing really Zerg can do at this point, can he?
Right, the Zerg is in such big trouble, and we see In Control doing the wall off on the low ground almost came back to bite him. But with perfect probe control, and if those Zerglings had just focused that probe completely, a couple of them actually would have slipped by. But a bit of a micro mistake, and In Control having perfect micro himself, you know, he takes, and there's absolutely no way for the Zerg to come back right now, because the Zerg can either try the macro really, really hard, which is what he is doing, and drop this hatchery, and then In Control can actually make 2 Zealots and just walk in and kill him, or the Zerg can try to continue the all-in, in which case In Control already has a great wall to defend it. So either way, our Protoss player is miles ahead.
Yeah, so of course, you know, Giga, he does have a second queen already, you know, trying to see if he can be one of those good Zergs to macro, but again, he's just too far. Protoss's Nexus is going to be finished way before his, and In Control, I think he's caught a little bit awkward because his Sensei, like you said, he doesn't have room for a Cybernetics core anywhere except a little bit farther back, but you know what? It doesn't matter, he's so far ahead at this point, his crisis management was almost near perfect. That's the only thing that probably went wrong. But, you know, In Control, he's going to be able to chrono boost out a lot of stuff at this point. Meanwhile, Giga, what's his follow-up plan? I mean, at this point, he's got to be able to do something, but I don't know exactly what you're saying before. It looks like the first 3 Zealots here, even them are going to do an insane amount of damage.
Right, and our Zerg player has no larva to spare for Zerglings right now. All he can do is produce drones and hope to get back in this game. But In Control is actually going for like a mini cannon Zealot rush here, which he cancels the pylon, so that doesn't really matter. He scoots into the main. But yeah, these 3 Zealots, they're gonna come in and do a ton of damage. if Giga produces Zerglings, which he's going to try to do now, those are Zerglings he can't afford to make right now. Either way, Giga is in huge trouble. He pulls all of his drones, and we're going to see what may be the final engagement right here.
Ooh, yeah, and of course Giga, he's using all his queens to defend the ramp. That's not a good sign. Right now in control again.